going back home, T9A, to the land of the beautiful queens. I'm going back home to my baby. I'm going back to New Orleans. Gonna see Nene, my parent, cousin, and my ma and pa. Gonna plant my feet on Rampart Street and be there for the Mardi Gras. I've been to Cuba, South America way. I've been to Euro, Mexico is okay. Over in France, the chicks are really fine. I get my cakes below the Mason-Dixon line.
I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, at my Aunt Julia's house, which my parents were staying at, down in the 8th Ward, very close to the 7th Ward, where all the famous Creole musicians came from, like Jelly Roll Martin. We the same color. Anyway, I was born in 1941, June 23rd. I went to Corpus Christi Elementary School, and from there I won a 4-year academic scholarship to attend St. Augustine High School and the Purple Knights. And after that, I went to University of New Orleans for a brief period, and then I got married. But after, you know, I got divorced, I went back to school and finished, and I got a degree in business administration from Southern University in New Orleans. My mother said of all her children, I cried the loudest. See, I could hear him crying all around the corner. She knew I was going to be a singer. And to solidify her belief, she adhered to an old Creole tradition, superstition, whatever you may call it, that said, if you want your child to grow up to be a singer, you have to cut his nails under a fig tree. Well, fortunately, we had a fig tree in our backyard, so when I was a young boy, you know, like a child, my mother cut my nails under the fig tree. My mother recognized my talent at an early age because she played the piano, and she would get me to sing for all of her friends who would come over because she wanted to show me off in front of all her friends. And I was so shy, she had to make me sing. So she would play the piano and I would sing. And what really encouraged me to become a singer, one of her friends said, "Oh my God, what a beautiful voice." And she gave me a silver dime. And you know, a silver dime was like $100 to me back in those days. So I said, wow, you can get paid for this? And so after that, you know, they couldn't shut me up because I thought I would get money every time I sang. But, you know, she put me in the boys' choir when I was in elementary school, and of course, she didn't get paid for that. I kind of naturally gyrated to the guitar because my family is a family of string players. You know, my mother played the piano, my grandfather played the banjo, my oldest sister played the violin and the viola, so I had a natural affinity to a string instrument. Of course, I didn't know that, and there was a ukulele hanging around the house when I was a kid. I'd grab the ukulele and try to pick out little melodies on it, and then I went to the piano and I tried to just play little melodies that I was familiar with, that my mother, you know, would sing songs and all, and I just tried to be picking out the melody till I got them letter perfect. And what really got me into the guitar was when my older sisters were in high school. There were a lot of high school dances back then, and they would, in order to raise money for the school, they would throw these high school dances and hire rhythm and blues bands to get the teenagers out to come and dance and buy the tickets to raise money for the school. Well, lo and behold, my mother had so many children, she couldn't act as a chaperone. So, take your little brother John with you. Oh, we don't want to take him. Go with her, because I can't be your chap. So I was the quote-unquote chaperone for my older sisters when they would attend the high school dances. They went to like St. Mary's Academy, Xavier Prep, and I would tag along with them, you know. But when I heard those rhythm and blues band, soon as I got in there, I go straight up to the bandstand and just sit there the whole night looking at the guitar players, because I had the unique honor and privilege of being exposed to some of the best guitar players in town that played in those rhythm and blues band. One of them was Snooks Eaglin. I saw Snooks, and man, I had never seen a blind man play the guitar. And Snook would just rear back in the chair, and he'd be playing all the Ray Charles songs like Mary Ann, and he played the piano parts on the guitar, and he could play, you know, finger style. So he'd have the bass line and the chord changes all going at the same time. Then he would sing on top of that. So man, that just blew me away. Then I heard Papoose Nelson used to play with Fats Domino. So I was just like Justin Adams, the Adams Family, the guitar players, and you know, I just had this attraction to the guitar, and I used to just watch these people, and I said, that's what I want to be. I want to be a guitar player. I played along with a lot of pickup bands, and one of the bands that I played with the most was a group called the Ivories, named after the piano keys. They called the Ivories on the piano. And we played a lot of fraternity parties and dances, and picnics and weddings. And that was a band I played most frequently with. And I also played with one of bands with some of my high school friends called the Rockettes. And this was when I was in high school. Same time that I was playing with the Ivories and a lot of other groups, the Playboys, and you know, I would get called primarily as a guitar player and a singer. And like say, one kiss led to another, so I kept playing with all these different bands. And the band that I played with the most and made the most money with, well, the band leader, he took off to California after he got out of school. His family moved to California, and he pursued higher education and whatever reason, you know. So some of the players that played with the Irish, you know, I kind of like reorganized the band and kept the name, because that was the magic name that could get us a lot of the gigs that we had been working. During that particular time in music history, most of the groups were identified by the lead singer or the band leader, and they would have a name following his name, like Sugar Boy and the Cane Cutters. Everything was an and. Danny White and the Cavaliers, Snooks Eaglin and the Flamingos, and there was Sugar Boy and the Chapaka Shawees. And so most of the bands were identified, you know, by the name of the band leader or the singer, because the singer was the guy, you know, that people identified the band because he was on the front line all the time. So anyway, we had one of these meetings to decide what we gonna call him. Looking at me, what we gonna call him? And everybody was throwing names in the hats, you know. Let's call him Lil Red. Let's call him Lil this. Lil, all kind of different names, and all of a sudden the drummer, Al Miller, came up and said, let's call him Deacon Jones. Everybody said, yeah, 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 let's call him Deacon Jones. And I said, Deacon Jones? I said, man, don't call me that. I said, people gonna think we got a gospel group. We'll never get no gigs around here. If we cut a record, ain't nobody gonna play it on the radio because they think we got a gospel group. And they just kept laughing. They said, yeah, I like that name. Yeah, Deacon Jones. But the guy who tagged me with the name, he used to play with Roy Brown. And Roy Brown had that song, Good Rockin' Tonight. And there was a line in the song that said, Deacon Jones, Elder Brown, two of the slickest cats in town. They'll all be there, just wait and see. Rocking and a stomping at the jamboree. I heard the news, there's good rocking tonight. When I organized my first band, well, we were very popular in the black nightclubs. This was back in segregation, you got to remember. So there were the black clubs and the white clubs. Of course, the black bands could play the white clubs and the black clubs. So I became very popular in black society, and then at some point I crossed over into playing for white people. But at this particular time, at the Dewdrop, I was primarily playing for mostly black audiences, social and pleasure dances and nightclubs. And I became, one of the popular bands around town. And so when you are able to draw a crowd in the club scene, well, everybody wants you then because you can make money for them. Pinnacle of all the nightclubs back then was the Dewdrop, because the Dewdrop was the showplace of the stars, and everybody who was anybody played the Dewdrop. So when the word got out that we were a popular band, well then, we got to play at the Dewdrop, and the Dewdrop was the only place in town where there was a floor show, and that's why the Dewdrop was the most popular club in town. And we used to put on a little skit ourselves with Deacon John and the Iris, and we'd dress up in our tuxedos. We had different colored jackets for every day of the week. And anyway, I was playing there one night, and I was, had a reputation as a good guitar player and singer. So in walks Alan Toussaint. And he used to hang out at the Dewdrop too. So did Dave Bartholomew, Huey Smith, Eddie Bull, all of the people who were doing a lot of the recording sessions during those days. And so Alan Toussaint just walked up to the stage, introduced himself, and asked me would I like to join him on some recording sessions. Man, my eyes lit up like they were on fire. What? I said, sure. Because, if you were good enough to play on a recording session, well, that meant you had arrived, You were like one of the mainstays, of the New Orleans culture, if you could play good enough to play on a recording session. So that was like a feather in your cap as a musician. You were good enough to play on recording sessions. And it also meant, there was another revenue stream coming in because you got paid for the recording sessions. And you could make the gigs too, because most of the recording sessions were in the daytime, or they would be during the week when most of the gigs weren't happening, like on a Monday or Tuesday. That's when they would call most of the recording sessions, because most of the musicians were available. And one of the reasons, that I was chosen, for these recording sessions, because I was available. And once you get into the quote-unquote clique, because it was a hand-picked bunch of musicians that played for the majority of the recording session. And once you got in that number, other people would seek your services too. Yeah, let's get the one that played on Mother-in-Law, because they thought, you know, you had the success formula, that if you played on this hit record, let's get him on this record, so it'll probably be a hit if we got these kind of musicians. One of the first recording sessions I participated in was Ernie Cato. When I got that famous call from Alan Toussaint, who was in the Dewdrop. I like the way you play guitar, and boom. The next couple of days, I was in the studio with Ernie Cato's on There's a Will, There's a Way. That was one of his classic recordings. It wasn't a big hit like some of the other ones, but that was the first step. And, I played on Mother-in-Law, Tainted the Truth, and Fortune Teller, Lipstick Traces, and I played on some with other producers besides Alan. There was Harold Batiste, and there was Wardell Cozaire, and there was Eddie Bowe, and Dave Bartholomew. They all were doing recording sessions back then on the different artists that they produced. So I played on some with Hugh Smith. I played on some of the hit songs that I played on were like Barefoot and It Ain't My Fault, It's Raining, Rule of My Heart, Hitting on Nothing, Come On, Let Me Show You Where It's At, and I Like It Like That, Chris Tanner, Land of a Thousand Dances, Something You Got, Big Chief, Teasing You, Working in the Coal Mines, Love of Love, Ride Your Pony, and a whole string of. I played on. I think I could safely say like a huge percentage of the minute sessions with Alan Toussaint. I was on the majority of the classic rhythm and blues that came out of that period. And besides Alan Toussaint sessions, I also played sessions with Edward Frank. They would come up with recording sessions with different artists that came along. Stanley Chase on with the Aubrey Twins, and Paul Barisco, and through the years, quite a number of recording sessions that I play on. Many of the classic rhythm and blues hits that came out of New Orleans during that day, I was the guitar player on that. I could call myself the ghost guitar player, because the musicians who played on the sessions weren't credited like they are now. So you get a hit record and you don't know who's playing on there. All you know is that Alan Toussaint playing the piano, but you don't know who the rest of the musicians are. When the festival was first being organized, I had one of the hot local bands around town, so I got booked on the first festival, and I've been playing the jazz festival every year since it started. I'm one of the few musicians that can say that I have played for every jazz festival since they first started. I was chosen, to play for every festival, and the record's been unbroken, even with Hurricane Katrina, because I was still here. After Katrina, I wasn't forced to move because I live in a section of town that didn't get flooded. I was an actor slash musician in Angel Heart when it was filmed in New Orleans. Of course, I tried out for one of the major parts, and the director told me, well, I don't think you look right for this part. But we have another role for you. And I played the slide guitar in some of the scenes with Brown and McGee. There was another one I did for Miller Beer that I knew I wasn't gonna get this one. It was a blues-based commercial, and it was like they had the blues mentor was one of the characters in the commercial, and there was a young guy, an aspiring young guitar player, and I was like the mentor that he looked up to. And man, everybody auditioned for that commercial. Gatemouth Brown, Sun Pie, Danny Barker, Wolfman. Oh man! And I looked around in the room and I said, "Oh God, I know I ain't getting this one because I know I don't look black enough to be a blues man." And I just went, and I got the second call, and then when I finally got selected, I started crying. I said, "Man," I said, well, I didn't cry right away. I was elated. And I said, "Man, well, out of all of these people, why did you pick me?" And he said, "We like your smile." And I started crying. I said, "Wow, sometimes it don't matter, He said, "We just like your smile." Well, through the years, a lot of musicians have played in my band, that have gone on to bigger and better things and established their own careers, and in many ways have surpassed, my own. Some of the example I can give you is like Zigaboo Motorlease with the Meters. He started out playing for me when he was in high school, and he played with me, and so did Art Neville, James Booker. Many of the musicians who played in my band have gone on to bigger and better things, established their own career, made hit records like Willie T, and I could think of a whole bunch of musicians, that have went on to bigger and better things, moved to other parts and established their own careers. But, for me, I'm happy for them, because I was part of their tutelage, and they'll come back and tell me, say, "Man, I learned a whole lot from playing in your band, which enabled me to be more successful."
Many rivers to cross, but I can't seem to find my way over.
My signature song, of course, is "Many Rivers to Cross," and it came about in 1970 when I had a hard rock band, and I saw the music change, and my manager at the time was Stanley Chason, and he worked for a distributorship in New Orleans called All South Distributors, and so he was privy to all of the latest recordings and movies that came about, because he would be a distributor, and he also was in charge of promoting some of the records. He was like the promo man and worked for a distributorship. So he was privy to a lot of the newer songs that were coming out before they hit the marketplace. And he heard this song by Jimmy Cliff from the movie The Harder They Come, and it was "Many Rivers to Cross." And he said, "Man, I got the perfect song for you." And he was right, because "Many Rivers to Cross" became a regional hit for me. It was the first kind of hit record I had. It was gonna be a hit record. It looked like it from what the sales were across the Gulf South. But of course, something happened. I got covered by some major artists like Percy Sledge. Well, his rendition of "Many Rivers to Cross" got more airplay than mine, because he was an established artist with Atlantic Records, one of the biggest record companies in the world, and they had a lot of clout with the radio stations, so they played his version over mine. I knew it was the perfect song for me because it was like the story of my life, and people can relate to that because it's a story of all the struggles people face in life, and it looks like, life is just a struggle every day, and we continue to cross more and more hurdles, more and more rivers to cross as life goes on. There's just many rivers to cross, and it seems like I can't find my way over. And wandering, I am lost. And I'm just traveling along the white cliffs of Dover. So it kind of sums up, my life story at the time. Well, I've been in the New Orleans Musicians Union since 1958. I've been a member. I joined the segregated local. There was a black union and a white union. I'm the first African American president of the merged locals because the merger came about in 1968. Prior to Katrina, there was a scandal involved with the president at the time, and our union went into quote unquote trusteeship, which meant the parent organization took over the union, got rid of all the officials, and we had to build the union back up until it was able to survive on its own. And then there was another election held after that. And just by coincidence, the next open election after trusteeship was right after Katrina. And that's when I ran for president. And I've been president ever since. Oh, I want to be remembered, my future generation, as the man who tried to help people. I've used my life as an example, because what I did to help people was I did a valuable contribution. I gave them jobs. I gave a lot of musicians good jobs to help supplement their income to create a better life for themselves and their families. So I want to remember as a guy, who tried to help people.
You know it's hard to love another man's girlfriend. You can't see her when you want to. You got to see her when you can. You may be fighting a losing battle, but you have so much fun